And we are back in the Bulldog studio, repping the Bench Mob and the Beyond the Box Score podcast. This is your boy MT, aka MT Kicks from back in the day. Shout out if somehow you're here from that. I doubt you are, but that was my shoe channel back in the day. I reviewed basketball shoes as a 12-year-old. They weren't the best, but we stuck to the grind, and we're still sticking to the grind here on the Bench Mob. My boy Danko, with the Beyond the Box Score podcast. And this is a weekly podcast where obviously we recap the NBA's week, and we do things like a fact or cap segment. We do key takeaways. We also do, surprise players and teams of the week and our disappointments of the week. So I'm really looking forward to today's episode. Per usual, it is the third one. So we're sticking to the grind. We're not going to stop, but we need you guys to support. We're at about 950 something?
951 exactly.
So we need 49 more of you guys to hit that subscribe, man, because we need that 1K so we can continue to make, these videos happen and hopefully get a bit of, monetization. That would be good. Can't speak English right now, but yeah, I'll let you take the mic because gee whiz.
Nah, that was a great intro. Great intro indeed. I'm really looking forward to this episode. Again, not as much happened in the NBA this week compared to when we last filmed, or not as much, was going on, but there was definitely some big key talking points, obviously, and key takeaways to take from it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that subscriber number rise to 951, and we're so close to that first goal, the first milestone, and we've only done it within the first 8-9 months of us having this channel. So the growth is definitely there, and the consistency with the content is what we're really loving at the moment, coming in here every week, having a set time, a set schedule. So hopefully you guys enjoy the content as much as we love to make the content and put it out, because we obviously are avid hoops enthusiasts, and I think what we have to say is unbiased. It's unfiltered at times.
Yeah. Sometimes you guys don't really like it, but as we always say,
we want all the smoke, 100%. So we're not going to shy away from that. And like I said, we might do a collab with our boys from Bootleg AU. Get a T-shirt at 1,000 subs.
Link in description.
Yeah,
100%.
But without further ado, let's get stuck right into week 3 or episode 3 of Beyond the Box Score, and we'll start off with our 10 key takeaways from the week. And I'll kick us off here, and pretty much. The first big key takeaway, it's obviously quite a noticeable one. It impacted the Charlotte Hornets quite a bit, and it's Miles Bridges looks like he has not missed a beat whatsoever, and his return is obviously playing an important part in the dynamic of that Charlotte Hornets roster. Look, what more can be said about it? The chemistry he had with LaMelo Ball over the past couple of seasons prior to this whole incident taking place was incredible. They've got a really good dynamic, and I think the skill set that Miles Bridges offers, 6'6", can shoot the 3-ball. He's versatile. He's athletic. He's really important, and you could see in those first couple of games how much of an impact he did have with the Charlotte Hornets. But yeah, I think that's speaks for itself, and I think with him in the lineup, you can definitely look at that Charlotte Hornets team making a lot more noise than they did to start the season off without him. So yeah, I think that's a big inclusion for them.
Yeah, 100%. Like Miles, LaMelo, that chemistry that they do have, absolutely insane. And when you add that to the core of Brandon Miller, that's just a really exciting trio. And we've seen with Miles obviously they've had 2 really quality wins over 2 really good teams. So, I mean, Miles, whether he should or shouldn't be playing, that's another question. But there's no doubt Miles is just, as an individual talent, he's just so damn good. Really underrated, 20-point per game scorer. Definitely flies under the radar. Kind of like, I don't know, he's like a Zion-esque.
Yeah, Zion light.
100%.
With not as much brute, and there's not as much bruising, but in terms of, pardon the pun helps. That was a bit ironic. But at the end of the day, I think in terms of what he does bring to the court, that left-handed, that left-handedness that he does have, obviously it makes it tough to guard, because you see across the board with left-handers, like historically James Harden, Zion, they're tough players to guard, because it's a bit awkward being a defender having to try and predict what a left-hander is going to do. But in terms of his skill set's second to none, like we said, and I think watch this space. The Charlotte Hornets are going to win a lot more games now. Whether that's enough for them to get into the playoffs or the play-in, that's a different story. But I like the dynamic they have, and I think Brandon Miller being there alongside Miles Bridges, they offer 2 different kind of playing styles. I think they complement each other well pretty much. So I think, him being back in the lineup is going to definitely help them. And pretty much that's pretty much all that's to be said about that, I guess.
But I'll move on to the next key takeaway, and that is James Wiseman doesn't fit in Detroit in any facet of the imagination. I just think, obviously, Wiseman, pick number 2, 3 by the Warriors. Once upon a time, number 1 player out of Memphis. Didn't play a full season at the collegiate level, but Wiseman was just so good, projected to be such a great center, such a good back to the basket big, someone who can operate easily on the low block. He has a nice mid-range jump shot. He has good touch, and he can block shots. And obviously, he's a hell of an athlete, but I just don't think it's going to work very well in Detroit. I think they already have Isaiah Stewart, who's playing really well, even in the starting lineup or off the bench, and then Jalen Durant, no secret, and even Marvin Bagley. I would say he has his moments too. So I just can't see a world where I think Wiseman will have a bad NBA career. Not necessarily do I think he'll ever be one of the perennial bigs in this league. It's pretty hard to see, to be honest.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We spoke about it last week with Davion Mitchell being drafted into the wrong situation and being put into a situation where maybe, he wasn't able to fully flourish. A guy like James Wiseman, I think it would have been maybe a better situation for him, as bad as this is to say, was to get into a situation where, they were losing a number of games, the team he went to, rather than going to a successful team where, the rotation was pretty, sorted before the season started, who was going to be in that starting lineup, who was going to obviously get key minutes. So for him, not getting that consistency and confidence, not only in his body, but in his form, game on game, probably hurt him early on in his career. And it's hard, like I said, we spoke about this as well. When you lose confidence early on in your career, it's hard to get that back. He showed glimpses from time to time in Detroit of what he can do and those flashes of brilliance and what made him such a highly touted prospect, not only coming out of high school going to Memphis, but obviously being a top 3 pick in the draft only 3 years ago. So like you said, I'm not going to give up on James Wiseman. I think he's got an electric skill set. He's got a long wingspan, can block shots. I think it's just about getting confidence, repetitions, getting all that, health back in his body that he needs to get. And once that all comes together, I think, he can definitely have a prosperous NBA career, whether it's to a star level or whether he reaches that potential that we once saw from him or once hoped from him. That's a different story. But I think in terms of, being able to play an important role on a team, I think he can definitely do that. So fingers crossed for James Wiseman and he can turn it around. But I think the Pistons isn't the right place for him.
Yeah, 100%. And we saw, at his time at the Warriors, I remember that clip. Draymond's like, has he taken a bad shot? Has he missed one? Have I? So has he. Don't get down on yourself. I do think he had the right vets around him. To me, he's honestly, his skill set, it's like a Derek Lively with a shot. So he's obviously valued.
But even a guy like DeAndre Ayton to an extent, I think, DeAndre Ayton being thrown in as the starting center right away in Phoenix, although he didn't, again, even live up to his potential to some extent, he did get more exposure early on and, got a lot more minutes and a lot more confidence instilled in him. Obviously, how that tenure ended in Phoenix is a different story, but I think on a whole, that's a similar kind of skill set, a 7'1" center with, long arms, explosive, can block shots, and obviously has, like I said, a versatile offensive skill set. So I think DeAndre Ayton's probably his closest comparison, but I like the Derek Lively comparison as well. But I think, he just has to get confidence back, and I think it's a matter of no time before James Wiseman can start to impact games at the NBA level. But again, how long he stays in Detroit and how long he's in basketball purgatory, is my favorite saying, is a different story, but we'll just have to wait and see. My next takeaway, the Orlando Magic look legit right now. They're 11-5, and they're on a 6-game winning streak. They just knocked off the Boston Celtics. They're looking dangerous. I mean, the chemistry, the second unit that is coming off the bench and contributing right away, Cole Anthony, Mo Wagner,
Gary Harris.
Shout out.
I don't know what's gone into this guy. He's a defensive anchor. This guy is crazy. Remember how sick Gary Harris was back in the day?
100%. He was a
2 arm sleeves.
yeah, not
He just looked like a
but
star.
even in high school, he was the man. He played in the Nike Hoop Summit. You know, he was one of the best prospects coming out of high school, and then going to Michigan State. He obviously, you know, we knew what kind of talent he had, but I think he sort of again maybe went to a situation where I don't know, it wasn't the right one, but
He had his moments.
he did have his moments, and I think he's a really solid NBA player.
Stopper now though. I love it.
But that's the thing. People embrace their role. And I think to have a long, prosperous career in the NBA, you need to be able to embrace a certain role that's, you know, asked of you by your coaching staff, by the organization. Yeah, exactly. Some guys take that with both hands and, that helps with their confidence and that helps with their longevity in the NBA. Whereas other guys, like, they want to be the man and they're not given that, luxury of being able to come in a situation thrown into the fire right away. And then, it ends up turning badly for them and they don't have like Trayvon Duval, for example, you know what I mean? Trayvon Duval, same sort of thing, went to Duke, left Duke too early.
Jalen Hands.
Like there's plenty of examples of it. But even guys that come into the league, like I said, and, don't.
Bro, remember how tough like Antonio Blakely was? Just quick thought, like that guy. Ooh.
But just like, Alonzo Trier as well, you know what I mean? He wanted to be just a pure scorer, but like the Knicks eventually didn't need a guy that could just put the ball in the bucket. They needed more of a sacrificial role, a team kind of role. And at the end of the day, that's what happens. But Gary Harris has taken it with 2 hands. But going back to the Magic, because we got a bit off topic there, but going back to the Magic, Paolo, after his slow start, has really come into his own. Franz, I expected a breakout out of him. He's playing really good basketball at the moment. Who else can I name off that? Anthony Black, even. Like, he obviously...
Cole Anthony.
Jalen Suggs, shout out.
Yeah, he's leaps and bounds.
Yeah, he's not shooting the ball awfully well, but you look at a guy like Goga Bitadze coming in and, just playing that, vital minutes, especially with the absence of Wendell Carter with that fractured hand. And then Markelle Fultz is out with left knee tendonitis, and to think that they're actually getting on this winning streak without Markelle Fultz, maybe that's a sign. Markelle, move on.
I love Fultzy, but
no slander of Markelle Fultz, but you know what I'm saying.
So Howard in the G League,
yeah, exactly,
like 40, which good signs.
But yeah, Mo Wagner had 27 today. Like, if you can get that out of your backup center, plus 15 in the box score, it's crazy. But I think, like I said, they just got really good chemistry. They gel quite well as a unit. Joe Ingles, underrated acquisition as a veteran who's experienced a lot of playoff basketball and, experienced a lot of different things in this league with the Utah Jazz. Primarily, I think that's an underrated acquisition. But overall, in a whole, the Orlando Magic really looking solid.
Shout out Jingling Joe.
100%.
I love that guy, man. He is the sole reason. Shout out to the Aussie because, man, that dude, I don't know if you've seen the Boomers doco, the one that recently came out, but it basically followed Bogut, Mills, Joe as a 3 and like how they've grown together since they were like under 18s. It's so sick. If you haven't seen it if you haven't at home because it's so good. But yeah, completely. Yeah, Orlando they're thriving right now. It's awesome to see and interesting to see what's got to happen now with the whole Fultz and Isaac situation. Well, I don't know. There could be a trade. Like if they're competitive, Vus back home, Levine. Nah, maybe not Levine, but Vus I could certainly see back in a Magic jersey 100% if they wanted to go down that path.
100%. Shout out Jamal Mosley, really underrated coach in this league, a young coach. He's got that group firing on all cylinders. And I think when you have youthful coaching, like as you've seen with Ime Udoka, Joe Mazzulla, I think the playing group just embraces it a lot more. I think some, obviously, organizations, some players, some teams need that tough love, those old school kind of coaches like in Steve Clifford, your Greg Popovich's, all that sort of stuff. But I think the young, youthful coaches in the league are definitely the way to go. And Jamal Mosley's proven that. And obviously he's got a lot of talent at his disposal, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it does also come down to, his coaching methodology. So, shout out to the Magic because we didn't see it coming, but see if they can continue this on and be a genuine threat in the Eastern Conference.
Josh Giddey, no secret, obviously, what happened. It's a bit messed up, but we don't really know the full details of what actually happened. So we're not going to flame Giddey. We're not going to get on his case.
Karl Malone Jr.
I mean, maybe we will. Go on then. Yeah, but it's not even about that. It's just about, I guess, Josh Giddey. He might find himself out of OKC. That sounds wild, but obviously we're not just because of the incident, but because of salary cap reasons, and he's plateau in production. That's obviously no secret. He's been good, but he hasn't been the same Giddey that we know. Josh Giddey, he's a hell of a player. Great IQ. But long term, I mean, they got Chet to pay. They got SGA to pay. They got J-Dub to pay. I don't know how Giddey kind of fits in the mix. And then when you look at all the first rounders that they do have, even Kayson Wallace, I don't know how good he'll be. Yeah. But point is, they have so many young assets, and with the future picks that they already do have, because they've made so many trades, maybe Giddey isn't a long-term OKC Thunder player, and it could be to do with the incident, but also because of salary cap.
Well, you look at it from the start of the season, with them obviously experimenting and putting SGA at the point guard. Not saying they don't trust Giddey, because obviously they put a lot of they run a lot of plays through Josh Giddey, and obviously him as the primary ball handler. But in terms of his limited ability to shoot the three ball, he's not as having a super efficient season this year shooting the basketball, and obviously plateauing production with his points and other statistical categories. I think that leaves him a little bit more as a potential trade option for them, in terms of trading out picks. Giddey, a team could definitely use Josh Giddey. And like I said, I think if it wasn't already on their minds to maybe long-term not have Josh Giddey in the organization, maybe this whole incident has just added a bit more fuel to the fire and the icing on the cake as such to obviously make that move, because you saw Chet Holmgren deleted tweets with him saying, "Oh, my homie Josh Giddey," or whatever, my boy, whatever, and then unfollowed him off Instagram. The teammates must not have taken this well. And who knows? Obviously the organization knows a lot more. Josh Giddey obviously knows the full situation. His teammates likely know a lot more about this than we do. But like I said, I don't want to get into too much of the details about the whole incident. But at the end of the day, related to this particular takeaway, I do think that, overall, if you're going to have to trade one of those key guys or, pay X amount of those guys.
It's not obvious already.
Yeah.
It has to be Giddey.
100%. And I think, like I said, in terms of, the other guys, they're way more efficient with they got a more advanced shooting skill set, can create their own shot off all different levels. Chet, SGA is one of the best scorers in the league. Even Lou Dort, having a really super season, locks down defensively. So, Josh Giddey is the anomaly in that situation. So, I think, ultimately that could be the move long-term for the OKC Thunder. Guy with a similar skill set to Josh Giddey in terms of, being able to pass the ball and, even at the same sort of physical makeup, being 6'7", 6'8", LaMelo Ball, he's back to his best basketball. The start of the season, I had him, I think the first episode of the year, I had him as my biggest disappointment. I was going to put him as my biggest disappointment. I ended up going with Jimmy Butler, but he was shooting the ball terribly. And again, a lot of that came down to the fact that, he didn't have continuity in his game. He was getting the conditioning back, the match minutes that he needed to, the game minutes. And so, that struggle came early, and we had him as our 10th best point guard in our top 10 point guard list, and we're getting flamed for it. Or I was regretting putting him in. I'm like, shit, he's not really living up to all the hype that I've put him in. Maybe people were right about slandering us for the list, but he's come good, and arguably he could be not only 10 but even higher on the list now. The way he's come
two and not two. No.
But I'll go in here and I'll just quickly rattle off some statistics
quickly about LaMelo Ball. To be fair, obviously he came off that ankle injury, I think, at the start of the year. But I think also Rozier and Gordon Hayward weren't playing. So he was dealing with JT Thor, a rookie in Brandon Miller. He doesn't really have also Mark Williams. He's a great player, but I don't think he ever really started at that point in time. So he was dealing with a new situation pretty much, a new team.
New coach.
It was always going to be a bit of a struggle.
But I think going to that Steve Clifford point, I think from what I've noticed watching Hornets games, he does give trust to players who are playing well in the game. For example, I made the call early thinking that Brandon Miller wouldn't get many minutes being that he's a rookie. But when he had those games early on where he was, really a key contributor to Hornets, to some of the Hornets results that they had early on in the season with a couple of the victories they had, Steve Clifford showed a lot of confidence in Brandon Miller. So I think if you play well and you show the coach that you can obviously play the right way and, be an impactful player on the court night in, night out, you're going to get minutes. So that's one thing I will revert my comment on that. And I think, he has proven me wrong in that regard, that he can give guys minutes who thoroughly deserve it. But going back to LaMelo Ball, this year, after this poor start that he had, he's currently averaging 26 points per game, 6 rebounds, nearly 9 assists per game, 1.5 steals. He's got his shooting splits back up to where they need to be, 44% from the field, nearly 39% from three.
What the hell? 39% from three after, I think he was shooting like 21.
Yeah, it was like 6, maybe not 19 or 20%. It was close to that. But since we started recording the last episode, which was on the 18th of November, he had 37, 5 and 5 of that game. He had 34 and 9 against the Knicks 6 days ago. 4 days ago, he had 36 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists against the Celtics in that victory. And then just a couple of days ago against the Washington Wizards, had 34, 8 and 13. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well, took a lot of shots, but at the end of the day, he had an impact, helped them get the result. So ultimately, LaMelo Ball back to where he needs to be, and him alongside, like I said earlier, Miles Bridges, that tandem, Airbnb, coming back, could be a really big turning point for their season going forward. But he's definitely a key contributor to the Charlotte Hornets, and if they want any success going forward, he needs to continue to play this way to obviously give the Hornets any chance of making the play-in.
I mean, he got that 5-year extension, so he's rocking out with Charlotte. He doesn't really have a choice, and he's almost like, if they ever got to relocate again, it's a lot of pressure, but pressure's on LaMelo to lead him to the promised land, not promised land, but to the playoffs consecutively, for them to sustain, I guess, a winning culture. Because, I mean, the Bobcats, it's a pretty bad transition in Charlotte. I hope they can get there. I'm confident that they can get there. They had that season, they won 42 games and just missed the playoffs. I think Rozier had a career year. That might have been LaMelo Ball's rookie year. But yeah, I'm confident that they can, especially if Miles and LaMelo and Brandon all stick together and, cause some damage in the East for sure. So this next key takeaway, Scoot Henderson is going back to the G League. Is that questionable? Is it not? I don't really know. He's coming off an injury, so I assume it's off that. And maybe, obviously, the confidence hasn't really been there to start his NBA career. And we know last year with Ignite, I guess it's probably just to get his confidence back a little bit. Goggle Scoot, though, how about that? He's looking good in the goal. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really have too much to say about this. I just feel like, it's a key takeaway. Seeing the pick 2 go to the G League, I don't know when the last time we kind of saw that. Maybe Wiseman, but I just thought it was interesting because obviously Portland are rebuilding and kind of just want to give as many minutes as he possibly could to a guy like Scoot Henderson in his rookie year to give him the keys early, even if he struggles.
Think about it. They're not competing for anything. They're close to the bottom of the Western Conference standings. Wouldn't you just want him to get conditioning in an NBA game regardless? It's not like you guys are contending to try and, be one of the top seeds in the Western Conference. It just, like I mentioned again, the confidence thing. I'm going to keep going back to this with a lot of young players. The confidence thing early on, if the confidence gets shot and, you have to play, firstly, he's playing a new position because he's more of, I don't think he's a traditional point. And they're asking him to play more as a traditional point guard. Hence why he's turning the ball over quite a bit, getting blocked at the rim, maybe questionable shot selections, spacing, exactly.
A guy like Scoot right now.
100%. So the fact that, you then send him out to the G League, it can go one of two ways. You can absolutely dominate and say, I'm going to go back and play this exact same way in the NBA. You get that confidence back playing against lesser opponents. But then it could go another way and you're he doesn't have the best showing in the G League. And then
that could be career ruining. That could derail your confidence so much so where it's what now? Yeah, I agree. Two ways, but I think Scoot, he's a gym rat. We know that.
Yeah.
I think he will bounce back, and I think he will, honestly have a pretty solid rookie year.
It could be the back half of the season emergence, a bit like Trae Young. A lot of people wrote Trae Young off early in his rookie season. Shot the ball terribly, starting off in summer league, and it then can transition into the season probably in the first 15, 20 games, if not more. And then after the All-Star break is when he really erupted, and there was arguments to be made that Trae Young should be the rookie of the year over Luka Doncic, which I was absolutely laughing about. But at the end of the day, there is ways guys can obviously emerge in the second half of the year, and vice versa. Guys who started off the season quite well, coming straight into the league like a house on fire. Plateau a bit. Like you look at Paolo Banchero, he still had a great rookie year, obviously won the rookie of the year, but his second half of the year, you could argue that Jalen Williams was the rookie of the year for the back half of the season. And, he did make a strong case towards the end of the year to be, right in that conversation. Obviously, we still saw that Paolo take that award out. But yeah, I think Scoot definitely has all the tools. He definitely has the work ethic to obviously be great, but we'll just have to wait and see. And hopefully...
Very quick. I feel like Coach Chauncey, if there's any coach who can get that mindset into him, it's him, because obviously Chauncey picked 3 by the Celtics early on in his career. He was labelled a bust. He wasn't very good point guard, just like Scoot is. So he's got the perfect coach around him who's probably has gone through the exact same thing. So I think he's in the best position that he possibly could be. I mean, he's got the keys to the organization. He has a head coach who's been in the exact same position that he has been, who's probably gone through the G League or the D League back then. I don't know what it was called. So, yeah, hopefully Scoot gets it together. But I just thought that was worth mentioning.
100%. But going on to my next point, the next key takeaway from the week was the Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray. We mentioned this in the last week's Fact or Cap segment about, can they be genuine title contenders without Jamal Murray in the lineup? But I'm going to say that Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray and their depth chart on a whole, there's holes in it, and it doesn't look great right now for the Nuggets. They just lost again today to the Houston Rockets. I think they've lost 5 out of their last 6 games, whatever it may be. But yeah, that doesn't look great. And obviously, Christian Braun has stepped into that role that Bruce Brown left after obviously leaving the Nuggets, going to Indiana. You can definitely play valuable minutes come the pointy end of the season. I think he proved in the playoffs last year that he could be a valuable bench contributor. But guys like Zeke Naji, guys like Peyton Watson, Colin Gillespie, I don't think they're the kind of guys that are going to be able to help you come playoff time. That's nothing to take away from any of these players that I just mentioned. I think they're really solid NBA players. But when it comes to, playoffs and having that, experience in the crunch, when, the buckets get tough to get, when, offenses get really stacked, guys start to heat up. I think, it's going to be tough for the Nuggets to repeat if they continue on with like this without Jamal Murray, most importantly, but then obviously their bench depth is leaves a lot to be desired. So I would love to hear what you make of this.
I guess for me, it's before this season and even last season, when I thought of the Denver Nuggets, I thought of, Will Barton coming off the bench. I thought of Malik Beasley coming off the bench. I thought of Busy Bones coming off the bench, lighting teams up. I don't think they really have that anymore. I don't know who that guy is. I mean, there was that there was a stint where I think Peyton, what's his name?
Peyton Watson.
Peyton Watson looked really, really good out there. And I was like, this is the guy. He can be that shot blocking guard who can, be like a threat like Busy Bones was, or Bones Highland. But besides that, I wouldn't put that much pressure on I think he's a sophomore year.
Yeah, second year player.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that much pressure on a second year player. I think they need someone to come off the bench who can, they need Malik Beasley back. I don't know who that guy is, but they need someone like that back on the team.
Even a guy in a free agent.
Evan Fournier, bring him back. Wait, he was at the Denver Nuggets, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was his original team.
Hey, New York don't want him. Yeah. I think they could get him if they have someone with a decent sized contract who isn't really playing.
I genuinely think though that when it does come to the trade deadline or just prior to it, they are going to make a move or they're going to sign someone. Yeah,
like Evan might get bored.
Yeah, 100%. The Denver Nuggets have to do something, just regardless of what they're doing with their starting lineup. I think there's no issues there. It's more, like I said, the depth side of it, and Jamal Murray not being there, Jokic having to carry the load. For a man to have 36, 20, and 8, and then still lose the game by 20 odd points today.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's pretty crazy to me, and that's the thing. We're going back to the point again from a few seasons ago with the Jokic slander, saying he can't win. Well, what more can the man do? Look what he's been putting up. The numbers that I showed you, minus that game that he got ejected in, he's putting up crazy statistics and putting up, everything he's doing everything he can for that Nuggets team. And again, guys around him have to do their part as well. And I think, like I said, that just shows how valuable Bruce Brown's departure really is to the Denver Nuggets. But I'm going to go just rattle off some results from the last week. So when we filmed on the 18th, they lost to the Pelicans by 5 points. They lost to the Cavs by 12. We know the struggles that the Cavs have had to start the year. They beat the Pistons, but just. This is a Pistons team who've only won 2 games all year. They only beat them by 4 points. The Orlando Magic, yes, they're on a hot streak, but the Nuggets, you should expect them to knock the
defending champs.
Yeah, 100%. So 5-point loss there. And then today in the in-season tournament, they've officially been bowed out of the in-season tournament. So 19-point loss to the Houston Rockets. And his protege, Jokic's protege, had a pretty good game himself, 21, 15, and 8. Jokic today, 38, 19, 8 with 3 steals. Incredible. He's put the team on his back. I've never seen a man have to shoot 31 shot attempts. This is Jokic. 31 shot attempts in a game.
Jokic does not want to take 31
Exactly.
shots either. Like, he doesn't want to be that guy. If anything, swing the rock, MPJ. I don't know. Someone's got to step up, whether that's Aaron Gordon, whether that's MPJ, whether like the absence of Jamal Murray. You're right. I don't think that they can get it done. I think they'll be a playoff team. Jokic is too good not to lead the team to the playoffs. But, yeah, I don't think that extra scorer is just so necessary.
100%.
Sorry about that. The next key takeaway, OKC shooting splits collectively might be the most effective and efficient offensive team in NBA history. Collectively, it's close to like 50, 40, 90. It's absolutely insane. I know Giddey hasn't been the best, but then again, he's not taking up a huge scoring load. Just shows how good SGA really is, like how effective he is. And then J-Dub as well, because those guys are taking a load of shots on that team. So, yeah, another guy, Cason Wallace, he's really efficient. I don't know the exact numbers. Shout out Beyond the Box Score. I'm looking through that, but I would love to know. But overall, it is 50.2% on field goal attempts, about 41% on three-point attempts, which is absolutely wild, and almost 90%, 86.2% on free throws. So that marks the Thunder with the best true shooting percentage in the entire league. So that's a crazy takeaway.
Yeah, so Cason Wallace this season averaging 7 points per contest. He's shooting 62% from the field, 53.8% from the three, and 100% from the free-throw line. So that's crazy. Lou Dort as well, a guy who's obviously more known as a lockdown defender kind of player. Plays that role for them on that team. 11 points per contest, and he's shooting 46.2% from the field, 43% from three, 81% from the free-throw line. And Chet probably having the most historic season out of all of them. Rookie season. Imagine that, a rookie to have 50, 40, 90. If you can do it throughout the whole year, that would be absolutely remarkable. But he's averaging 55.7% from the field, 43% from three, 87.7% from the free-throw line. So got to get that free-throw percentage back up, but I think they're well on their way. And this is why they're winning games. This is why they're right up there in terms of the Western Conference standings and one of the best records in the entire NBA, because of the fact that they know how to get the best shot possible. They make, getting the best shot for their teammates easy. And yeah, they just swing the rock. They play really good team-branded basketball. There's no egos. No one's
coach's name.
Mark Daigneault.
Yeah, Mark Daigneault. I think you had him coach of the year in the prediction award, which is a crazy call by you because damn near I think you're going to be spot on with that one. Once again, Danko just slowly ticking them away, man. Like, I'd love to have a video where it's like everything Benchmark was called in the entire year and just put it all together.
I've got the receipts. I've got receipts for a lot of other things as well. Called Tyrese Halliburton, an absolute stud. 6 months out from the draft.
Derek Lively before the draft.
Yeah.
There's plenty more.
There's plenty more. We'll get to them. There's been some, obviously,
Make that video.
We don't always get it right, but the ones we do get right, they're quite, bold ones. And, I think we do get it right for the most part. So, yeah, we're going to do a video. Stay tuned for that one.
That hot take video, might have to revisit because I think there would be some in there, some gems for sure.
100%. There's going to be some terrible ones, but that's just how it is across the board. But yeah, OKC,
we'll ignore
really incredible to start the year off. And the fact that they still have so many draft picks to come and the fact that, they've got such a good stash of young talent, they are a very scary sight for many years to come in the league. And a lot of teams should be scared about this rebuild and how quickly it's come along. And yeah, fingers crossed that, it continues on this way and we can see some success for that young core. And obviously OKC never had the fortunes when they had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Serge Ibaka. They didn't have the fortunes to obviously win a chip. Ran into an absolute steam train in LeBron James when he was in his prime at the Miami Heat. But at the end of the day, I think, bit of nostalgia. But yeah, I think, this, if there's anyone that can obviously bring that legacy forward and help cement, OKC's legacy in NBA history, it's this young core, and I think they're ready to do it. And stay tuned. They're scary.
Them and Indiana, probably the most exciting teams to watch right now, I reckon.
100%.
Entire league.
So fun. Like, that's the kind of basketball you want to watch. You want to watch fast-paced.
Even the Kings are up there. Like, I don't even like Sacramento, but like watching Fox just go to work.
100%. Definitely. But my next point, speaking of a guy who's cemented his legacy and a guy that I just mentioned only a couple of moments ago, Kevin Durant. What a man. What a player. As much as we slander him about the moves he made throughout his career, the taking the cheap way out, going to Golden State, trying to cement himself with a ring, doing all those dirty things, like snake-like behavior, as we're going to call it. I don't like to call him a snake. I don't like to label it a legend of the game that way, but, it is one of the dirtiest moves in NBA history, in my opinion, doing what he did, joining a 73-win team. It's unforgivable in my eyes. But based off what he's doing right at this present moment for the Phoenix Suns, pretty much when Devin Booker was out, was carrying this whole entire team. And if we're really comparing his level of play right now to when he was in his prime, back in the OKC days, back when he was obviously winning those chips with Golden State, I honestly believe Kevin Durant is playing the best basketball of his career at this point in time. It's crazy to think because he's torn his Achilles, and we've seen how much that's hindered guys.
How does he do that?
That's crazy.
Tearing your Achilles
and playing better. That's usually a career ender. Look at Kobe. Never the same player. Klay Thompson tore his Achilles, never the same player, and he's probably like on his way to being like diminished in terms of
he's probably done. Let's be real.
Not done, but he's not going to be that Klay Thompson we expect. 100%. And then another guy to add to that, John Wall, tore his Achilles. Not the same player. Brandon Jennings, tore his Achilles. Never the same player. So for KD to be able to do what he's doing after tearing his Achilles and coming back, and think about it, he's 6'11", 7 foot. These other guys are all smaller kind of players. Obviously Kobe and who else did I mention on that list just then?
Kobe, Jennings, Wall, Klay.
Klay, yeah. So Kobe and Klay obviously 6'6", 6'7" guys, but Kevin Durant, a 7-footer, to tear his Achilles, which is obviously going to be a lot bigger, the tendon on a 7-footer than it is on a guy that's a lot smaller. For him to come back and play the way he is, it's incredible. And I'll just rattle off the numbers for him this year because my word is he having some sort of season. So
it's actually crazy though, because I remember there was a point in time at OKC, Russ was injured, Ibaka was injured, and it's the exact same thing. KD once again saves the day, leads him to the playoffs. It's like KD, who's he playing with right now? Brad Bill's out.
Booker's having a pretty good season, but at the end of the day,
he's been injured as well. So Eric Gordon, Yuta Watanabe, this roster.
Keita Bates-Diop.
When you take away those
Drew
guys,
Eubanks.
Gee whiz,
100%. He's currently second in scoring, 31.4 points per game. 7 boards, nearly 6 assists.
6 assists, that's the main one.
Yeah.
There was a genuine conversation. People were saying KD is not a playmaker. That was a debate. I remember before the set, a lot of channels or a lot of people in the NBA community were talking about who's going to be that point guard or lead guard on this team, whether it's Booker or Bill. And they were saying KD will never change. Well, 6 assists per game for Kevin Durant. That's really impressive.
What impresses me is that he's averaging 1.2 blocks per game. So he's getting it done defensively as well. We've always known he's been a really good shot blocker. Obviously, with those long arms, he can contest any shot pretty much that comes his way. But then his field goal percentage is absolutely ludicrous. 53% from the field, 52.2% from the three-point line, 6th best in the entire association, and 89.1% from the free-throw line. Nearly 50-50-90. And averaging what he's averaging, he is absolutely incredible. And again, take away everything about Kevin Durant that you dislike, maybe about, like I said, how he's gone about certain things. Put that all to the side. and you can't help but agree with what I've said here about him playing the best basketball of his career. Obviously, he's had some big moments and he's played some amazing basketball over his career, and we know that for a fact. But right now, with his back against the wall with his Phoenix team, obviously a lot of pressure on this team to succeed come playoff time with the amount of talent that they do have in Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and himself. You expect this team to do well. So the fact that there is pressure on him, Booker was out, Beal was out, he stepped up. It's starting to come good now. So individually, yeah, he's playing out of his mind. Collectively as a team, if they can start to put it together and really, get on a run, they'll be dangerous come playoff time, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we came in here, I was watching the KD video. Remember back in the day where he's like, I'm sick of being number 2. That was the coldest thing. And then he won the MVP. It's hard not to love a guy like KD. But moving on, his former team, I guess the OKC Thunder, we've mentioned them already, but OKC, so the Chet Holmgren debate, it's a genuine thing. He can be Rookie of the Year, and you could argue that he should be the Rookie of the Year at this current point in time. I mean, he had that, I think it was like a 36-point game. He's been going nuts.
Hit an absolute crazy shot to send it to overtime.
Yeah.
Got that clutch gene in him.
Got that KD in him.
100%.
Pretty sure that was his favorite player. But Thunder, what are they now? Like 11-5?
11-5, yeah.
Which is nuts. And Chet is just something else, man. Like I'm one to love the traditional big. I mentioned that in the previous episode. But
11-4 actually. So they only lost 4 games.
Jesus. Yeah. Christ. So if that doesn't tell me that like Chet has the upper hand in that Rookie of the Year race, I don't know what does, because I know for sure the Spurs are not 11-4. In fact, I think they're like 4-11. Like it's the other way around. Mm. So Chet has winning on his side. The numbers are there. I guess a lot of people are just kind of got rid of the fact that Chet or maybe Isaac couldn't be Rookie of the Year. Well, to that I'll say, I don't know. Wins don't lie. The numbers don't lie. At this current point in time, I'd probably have Chet above Wemby.
I have to agree with you because, Wemby's putting up great numbers, but the efficiency is just not on the same level as a Chet Holmgren. He's 55, 43, and 87%.
3 from 3?
Yeah. What the heck? That's incredible for me, for a guy like, again, he's spent an extra year in the system. He's been around the team. He's been around the NBA coaching. He's got accustomed to what is expected of him in the NBA system. A bit like a Blake Griffin, a bit like a Ben Simmons coming into his second year, obviously, when he had that red shirt season in his first year in the league. But pretty much it doesn't still discount what he's done. Obviously, you still have to go out there and perform night in, night out. And I think the fact that he's lived up to all that hype coming out of Gonzaga, and, there's a lot of question marks about him at first. Like, was he going to be able to withstand the NBA physicality and everything like that? Or he doesn't look like he moves as fluidly as Wemby. That's all gone down the drain, in my opinion. And he's definitely proving a lot of people wrong and showing what he can do. And I think the crazy thing to me is 15 block shots, 2.3 blocks per game. I had him as my...
Wait, how many blocks per game?
2.3.
2.3. So he's probably... I don't know who's leading the league in blocks, but he would be top 4? Top
5.
Top 5?
Yeah.
Who's above him?
I want to double check that now. But
Miles Turner might be. I don't know who else. Durant, he might
be. AD, nearly 3 blocks per game. Then Brook Lopez is up there again, 2.88. Nick Claxton, 2.67.
Hasn't played.
Wemby, 2.56, and Chet, 2.27.
And where's Durant, like 1.8 or something?
1.2.
1.2. Damn, so he started the season off averaging like 2.5.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, he's still a gun, but... Yeah.
I did call Chet as my potential blocks leader, so...
Yeah, that's huge.
Hopefully that one, another prediction to tick off the list.
I want to revisit that video, actually.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But, that pretty much sums up the key takeaways. I think we did what we could with this week, as it was all over the shop in terms of not much happening. But moving on, we'll go on to our biggest surprise player now, and I'll let you kick this one off here.
So as much as this guy has been, I guess, in the publicity or in the papers, and people don't really, give him, I don't think he fully should get the credit he deserves, because we did it off the court. Well, I'm not going to get into that anyway.
It's inexcusable, but we'll move on.
I'm not going to get into it. But my biggest surprise has to be Miles Bridges. The guy had like a 33-point game in a win against, it it was a win against the Wizards, but nevertheless, 33 and like his, fourth game back. That's insane, or third game back. And then 14-point, 15 rebound game with 5 assists. Nuts. I'll just continue to, those 2 games, he went absolutely crazy. And I just think alongside those 2 games, Charlotte have also been winning. So that's a key contributor. And it just shows me a guy like Miles is a difference maker. And it's what LaMelo Ball's been missing and waiting for this whole time, that lob threat. I mean, he can stretch out to shoot the 3. He can have the ball in his hands. Like, I think LaMelo really loves playing with Miles. I think they definitely click. You can see the connection there, that brotherly love that they do have.
That handshake.
Yeah, I love watching them play together. And I think they're definitely going to be the 2 if they stay together, or Charlotte don't let go of Miles to really push the organization as far as they possibly can. It's a hell of a lot of fun watching those 2 guys play together.
Definitely. Like I said, it doesn't. What was I going to say? So it's like in terms of having that experience with a couple of years under the belt together, that's so underrated, and that can't be replaced pretty much. So having him come back in and having someone that he's familiar with on the court that he has a really good relationship with has helped. And I think LaMelo playing with that confidence instilled that confidence into Miles Bridges, and Miles Bridges again being back probably has helped rejuvenate LaMelo Ball's play as well. So super excited to see what Miles Bridges can continue to do on the court. Obviously, again, I don't condone what he did. I'm not saying we're praising him here for, this and that. But at the end of the day, he is a really valuable piece to that Charlotte Hornets team. And, it is a surprise to see him back first and foremost. Yeah, exactly. But also to see him,
averaging 20 a game.
100%.
Doing the things he's doing, like highlights, dunks, threes, blocks, rebounds. Can't deny he's a hell of a basketball player.
Definitely. So moving on to my biggest surprise, it's not as obvious as a guy like Miles Bridges, but I was going through the list earlier on, and I'm trying to work it out. I'm like, who the hell can I put as a biggest surprise? Because I feel like we sort of covered off a lot of these guys early on in the season, but there's one guy who's flown under the radar a little bit, and I think he deserves his flowers now, and I believe that guy is none other than Jaime Jaquez Jr., Triple J, the better Triple J, not Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaime Jaquez Jr. is the better Triple J.
Isn't he? He's Mexican, yeah?
Yeah.
The Mexican bandit. I love that guy, man. I was watching him this summer in Rico Hines, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Just put in like Paul George, all these NBA stars, just jump shots in their face.
I watched him at the Drew League a few years ago when he was still like a season and a half ago when he, not live, but like obviously just I watched like his whole highlight tape from one of the games that he absolutely took over. He had like 41 or 43 points at the Drew League. This is while he was still at UCLA. And just having that 4-year seasoned veteran presence in terms of like a college player, like having all 4 years under your belt, coming into the NBA, he's ready to go right away. There's no growing pains. Obviously, he's going to have times where he's not going to play the best style of basketball, the best level of basketball that we are accustomed to see with the guy like Jaime Jaquez. But in terms of, coming in and being able to step into an organization like the Miami Heat, who like guys who play basketball the right way, who, always make the right play on the court, and, an underrated athlete. He's got a 40-inch vertical jump. I think the NBA game suits him well with the extra spacing. College, again, a bit more of a different play style. They play a lot more zone. The lanes smaller. So he's the perfect example of a guy who might not necessarily have been like an absolute superstar on the college level. He was a star, don't get me wrong, for UCLA, but he's come into the NBA and he's embraced his role and taken it with both hands. Another gem that the Miami Heat have unearthed, and an absolute steal of that pick. But just go through some of the numbers. So on the 19th of November, he had 6 points. Wasn't the greatest game, 6 points, 3 boards. But then the last 3 games, he's had 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 61.5% from the field, 75% from 3, 70% from the field the game after, 100% from the 3-point line, shooting 22 points with 8 boards and an assist. And then the last game, which only just happened today, in a loss, they down 21 against, so Knicks were down 21 against the Heat. They ended up coming back. Absolutely crazy. He had 15 points, 5 boards, 4 assists. Didn't shoot the ball well, but again, he's come in, played his role. He's taken advantage of Tyler Hero's absence from the lineup. And Eric Spoelstra's thrown him into the deep end, shown that confidence in him. And I think, yeah, he's going to have some of those games where he has a off night shooting the ball, but I think his confidence is still there and he's not afraid to obviously put up those shots and he's not going to be deterred by a miss. And I think what else he does on the court, the intangibles he brings, super underrated. So for that reason, I have him as the biggest surprise for this week.
Yeah, love the pick. It's like the Heat just continue to do it, like you said, diamond in the rough. I mean, guy like Haywood Highsmith, Drew Smith, I know he's out now. And then Hami Harkes, like Pat Riley, he's just a genius. Like,
he is.
Absolutely
The
insane.
Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. Before I get into my biggest disappointment, I'm just going to crack this open. If you have a Bev at you at home and you're watching, you can join us.
Look at that sound quality. Cheers. Cheers to that.
Oh, I spilled some on the run sheet.
Good flavour. Great flavour.
What is this?
Pink guava, I think.
Bro, this hits. I'm getting this every time.
Shout out Monster. Give us a sponsorship.
Yeah, give us a sponsorship. Let's get that bag. But my biggest disappointment, now this guy, like, I know he has a role to play on a potential championship team. But at the same time, I just think Boston's been losing lately. And I feel like he could have been a bit more assertive because I know he's a great scorer and I know he's a great two-way player. He gets defensive stops. But for me, seeing a guy like Drew Holiday score like 7 points, score like 5 points, 11 points, I know that's all right. But like, I just think he's the difference maker. He's that X factor. And now with KP out, he's going to really have to step up. And I'm not saying he's been like massively disappointing. I don't want to get on his case. I just think he needs to lift offensively. That's all. But yeah, I mean, they lost to the Bucks. They lost to the
Magic.
To the Hornets as well.
Yeah, and to the Magic.
And to the Magic. So it's like 3 losses. Actually, no, they beat the Bucks and they lost. Yeah, and then they lost to the Magic and Charlotte. So I think, I don't think those are definitely winnable games. And I think it all falls down on Drew Holiday. Not entirely, but yeah. I just think
you do have to expect some sort of offensive production. And, you know, again, you don't want to step on anyone's toes. It's Jason Tatum's team. You know, Jaylen Brown's going to get his own, and Kristaps Porzingis obviously was brought there for that exact reason.
Hopefully that MRI is nothing too seriously because I want to see healthy Porzingis.
100%, and I think healthy Porzingis with that Celtics team is just going to make for better basketball going forward into the season, and obviously when push comes to shove come playoff time. But I think I called it as well. I said, look, if God forbid Porzingis has an injury, their depth gets shot in the foot straight away in the front court. And then again, you have a reliance on a guy like Drew Holiday who can drop 50 balls in this league. We saw it last year. He's an all-star, couple-time all-star in this league. So at the end of the day, we know what he's capable of. He's averaged 20 points in this league a few times in the past few years, or close to 20. So yeah, he's definitely capable of doing it. And I think he just has to be more assertive, more aggressive, like you said. So
I think he will do it. I just think, I don't know. I don't want to call it out, but it's one of those
maybe
things.
too much. Maybe you went in a bit too harsh on him, but I do understand why, because at the end of the day, they didn't necessarily bring him in for the offensive side of it. They brought him in to be more of a defensive stopper, a guard, the best player night in, night out. But when you do have the capability of a guy like Drew Holiday to be a great offensive player, and like on any given night, you have to do it when your time comes and when your number's called. So
it's not like they can't afford to lose. Like they lost couple games, it's okay. Like the Celtics are rolling right now. They're still rolling. So it's like they definitely can afford to lose. But I couldn't really think of anyone else who's been, not really quite themselves. And I don't even like to consider it disappointing. I look at this one, I'm like, they're not really informed to what I know that they can be, but I know they'll bounce back. So I hate like saying you're a disappointment of the week. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Because knowing damn well that they will bounce back.
100%. So for my biggest disappointment of the week, I'm going down a different path. It's less of an established player, a guy that I expected to break out in a big way this year. And so far, it hasn't come to fruition, hasn't sort of lived up to that particular billing. So that guy's none other than Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga, a guy who obviously came in with a lot of expectation, especially during the preseason. He set the world on fire. He was absolutely in his bag. He's an absolute flamethrower. I think he was like second in scoring or number one in scoring in preseason. And I expected that to translate. I expected it to be the guy that, the Warriors needed to lift obviously in certain situations when guys like Klay Thompson and Wiggins, who currently are in a bit of a slump, weren't playing the best. He could come in and obviously have that impact and be that guy that the Warriors could count on. But so far, it hasn't looked good, particularly from the 3-point line, an area where he was really strong in preseason, and obviously an area that he's obviously improved on quite substantially. You look at the numbers for him this year. He's currently averaging about, I think, what is it now? It's gone up because it's after the games that they play. But he's averaging 20 minutes a game. He's averaging 11.6 points, 3 boards. And the area for me, he's only averaging half a steal a game and 0.4 of a block per game. I'd expect him to be a bit more honed in defensively, especially considering that's the one area where, he gets after it. He's very an energizer bunny on that side of the ball. And the fact that, his numbers aren't really great on that side of it. Obviously, that's just from the statistical standpoint. I think on the eye test, he still does pass that. He does play hard on the defensive side of the ball, but to only average 11 points per game, shooting 20% from 3, 44% from the field's great, 70% from the free throw line. Like, that's an improvement, but just that 3-point shot, maybe is he settling too much for the 3? We saw a guy like RJ Barrett settle for the 3 less this year, and it's obviously helped with his game. And even other guys in the league, they have the ability to shoot that 3 ball, but, can they just get the best shot available and, make sure that their shot selection is great? Because at the end of the day, I think that's what's holding him back, his shot selection and just his overall basketball IQ. But I think, like I said, expecting where I expected him to be and him not living up to that, it's a little bit disappointing. But at the end of the day, I think he can be a good player in this league and live up to those expectations we did set of him early on in the season. But yeah, so far I couldn't think of anyone else again who could be more of a disappointment than Kuminga, so I had to put him in. Not necessarily saying like I'm slandering him here, but at the end of the day, for what we expect of Kuminga, he hasn't really lived up to the expectations.
Yeah, I feel like this sounds crazy, but with the Warriors, like obviously you mentioned Klay, Andrew having a slump. Is there such thing as having like too many voices? Like, I know the Warriors are a championship team, but when you got Draymond, obviously he's going to be in Kuminga's ear, and then Klay, Wiggins, who take a pretty hefty load in that, in the shot attempts. It's like he's only so like limited, like 20 minutes, he's averaging 11 points. Like, I feel like if you gave him the keys, I reckon he could break out, but there's a fine line. If this continues and they continue to struggle and they keep a hold of all these guys, it's not going to end well. But if you take the step and you're like, maybe we're not that championship team that we projected to be with Chris Paul, with Wiggins, Klay, Draymond, and like, it would make sense why they want to compete now because they have the roster to do so. But all I'm saying is if it doesn't end well, I think you have to go on the Kuminga route with Curry, with Moody, and start prioritizing those guys because they've never really done that. They didn't do it with Wiseman, and they didn't do it with Poole. So, yeah, I think Kuminga, his upside is it's too good to just, wave off like they did with the other guys.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I'm not giving up on Kuminga. I do rate him highly, but it's just so far from where the predictions were and in terms of the expectations after the way he played, like I said. Again, we can take preseason performances for a grain of salt. At the end of the day, not everyone's on the court. Not everyone's obviously taking it as serious as obviously a regular season game. They're trying to just get repetitions, minutes, whatnot. I get that. And the intensity of a regular season game compared to a preseason game is completely different. But still, you got to take some stuff you saw from the preseason and say this guy, why isn't it happening in the regular season? So that's all I'm saying. And again, I think he can turn it around, but I couldn't think, like I said, of anyone else who's been more disappointing than Kuminga this past week and to start the season, besides obviously Jordan Poole and a few other guys.
Move on now to our biggest surprise for teams, and we'll kick this one off. Well, I'm pretty sure we probably have the same one, and that is the Orlando Magic, like we mentioned before, 11-5, yeah. 11-5. They beat the Celtics today. Paolo and Franz are just on a roll, and then Mo Wagner, hopefully I pronounced that on point, 27 today. Guys like him just coming off the bench and just playing their role. Cole Anthony's playing really well. Jonathan Isaac, he's coming off the bench, and maybe the stat sheet aren't like as follows previously to what he did put up, but still Jonathan Isaac, still like a 7-foot guy who can put the ball on the floor and defend, which is really valuable. And then Gary Harris, like I mentioned before, all of a sudden this guy's a defensive anchor. He's like a dude who can stop their best player, it's pretty sick to see because he was out of the league for a little bit. Back in the day, Gary Harris, I mean, the Nuggets, 2 arm sleeves, he just looked like a star that was bound to break out. As a Lakers fan, for some reason, he was one of those guys who would just always light the Lakers up, and he would make me so angry every time we would play the Nuggets because why is Gary Harris dropping 30, 40 on us? But yeah, I just think it's their depth chart and the camaraderie that they have it's just amazing. And it's pretty cool to see the Magic thriving because they're never really that good. So it's awesome to see.
I haven't seen that since the days of Dwight Howard, Jameer Nelson, Hedo Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis. That team was stacked back in the day. But obviously we've seen it in glimpses in the last couple of years, but nothing to the level that we've seen now. And obviously for a team as young as they are, we expect obviously there to be some growing pains at times. But yeah, with the emergence of Franz and Paolo obviously starting to put it together in his second year, those two are going to be crucial come the pointy end of the season when playing spots are on the line and potential playoff spots there as well to be up for grabs. I think that'll be really a key. They're going to be key contributors, I should say, to that whole run that they're going to have. But yeah, the depth is incredible, and like I touched on earlier in the episode, Jamal Mosley's coaching again, very underrated as well. So in terms of the biggest disappointment,
I don't know if this is in the podcast, but we're taking a quick break. But some DJ guy just ruining the entire Beyond the Box Score podcast. Like, shut up, bruh. Like, we're trying to record here, and you're just doing this dumb shit every time. Oh, yeah. Do you feel good about yourself?
And so, yeah, moving on to the biggest disappointment. So in this particular week, I think it's no question, it's unanimous. The Denver Nuggets. Pretty much, what we expect from the Nuggets as defending champions, and for them to not live up to that hype. They're, lost 4 out of the last 5 games that they've played in. They just scraped over the line against the Detroit Pistons, a team that's only won 2 games all year. And yes, despite Jamal Murray's absence and, him being a key player in this Denver Nuggets team, you still expect him to win these games, even though the rest of the NBA has improved across the board. And the gap between the good teams and the worst teams has definitely narrowed a lot. But you still expect the Denver Nuggets to really get the job done. And a guy like Nikola Jokic, you can't expect him to take 31 shots a game and expect him to win, regardless if he's putting up outwardly performances like he did today, 38, 19, and 8. Like, at the end of the day, he's been taken out of his role because he's not distributing the ball, getting other guys involved. Maybe it was out of need today. He needed to do it because, he knew that his teammates maybe weren't on the right page or, on the ball. But at the end of the day, you still expect the Nuggets, with as much firepower as they do have, to get the job done, and they haven't done it. And yeah, there's clear-cut disappointment in this past week.
Team of the week out west. I think we have to probably agree here again. It's the OKC Thunder. I think they've won like the last 6
games in a row, yeah.
Crazy. We touched on their efficiency before. They might be the most efficient offensive team in NBA history. Guys like SGA putting up historic numbers. Jada was playing out of his mind. Chet, Lou Dort. And then obviously you mentioned before, Kayson Wallace, which is nuts. Like what he's doing as a rookie. I know it's only 7 points per game, but shooting 50% from 3 as a rookie is wild, like 40% from the field. Yeah, great draft pick.
It was like 60% from the field.
60%, okay. I got that one wrong.
Yeah, crazy efficiency and crazy numbers. And like I said, I think they're clicking on all cylinders. Mark Daigneault, like we mentioned, underrated coach. The front office, the way they've constructed that team and, with how much more they've got in terms of the kitty, banked up in terms of the assets that they have and all that sort of stuff. It's crazy. And it's only going to continue to grow, and that organization is just going to continue to be surging upwards. So I think not much more can be said about OKC. They've been playing out of their mind, and yeah, it doesn't obviously, or it shows why that the second best team out in the Western Conference at the moment, and arguably could be pushing for that number 1 seed if all things continue on. But that's a bit of an early call, but you never know.
never know with your type of calls, man. It will probably happen like thus far. Team of the week in the West. I know we talked about him a lot.
East.
Oh, yeah, sorry, in the East. Sorry, excuse me, I'm a dumbass. But the East, the Orlando Magic. We just talked about them, how good Franz, how good Paolo is, how good of a job Mosley is doing. Yeah, crazy. I didn't expect them to be 11-4, but I don't really want to talk about them more because I feel like we've said so much already about them, but they have to be. If you want to chip in,
I don't think there's much more to say about that. But moving on to our player of the week, it's the Bench Mobs player of the week. Last week in the last 2 episodes, we've done individual player of the weeks for the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, and also individual team of the weeks. So we're going to scrap that. We're just going to do a combined team of the week and player of the week this particular episode, just to make it a bit more streamlined. I think it works a lot better. But to cap it off, our Eastern Conference player of the week in the Bench Mob Beyond the Box Score podcast is LaMelo Ball. And I think, like I said at the top of the show, with the key takeaways, I think the numbers speak for themselves. The impact he has on the team, the efficiency's coming back. He's playing like LaMelo Ball of a few seasons ago when he obviously was named as an All-Star in his second year. His confidence in his body looks like it's coming back. As long as he can stay healthy, durable, I think it's going to be an incredible run to come for him, and I think it's only going to continue to grow and be able to maintain this level of production and play. He might have his odd game where he doesn't shoot the ball awfully well, but the way he's gone right now, and I think making the right plays on the court, Steve Clifford getting the best out of him, getting the best out of himself. In fact, LaMelo Ball, that is, and Miles Bridges coming back. It's a no-brainer that we have him as our player of the week. He's arguably the hottest player in the league, you could say.
I mean, like we've touched base on this before, but when you quickly note, like 37 points off 43% from the field, not too bad. 34 from 55% from the field, 61% from 3, not so bad. And then 36 points, 56% from the field, 45% from 3, and then another 34-point game, about 38% from 3, 42% from the field. And then in these games, 13 assists, 8 assists, 9 assists. That doesn't tell you. Player of the week, I just don't know what does, because he's doing LaMelo things. He's been doing it since high school. He just has fun with it. Sometimes a bit questionable with like the shot attempts, and obviously he plays like the exact same way he's been playing since he was 11 years old, and it's crazy seeing the progression in this guy, because I remember when he was just doing those swervy little layups in the paint as like that Odell Beckham looking ugly. Yeah, it's crazy to see the evolution of LaMelo to this day. It's even kind of weird seeing him grown up. Like, just the way he acts like now, it's a bit like
having a 35-year-old missus.
Hannah Montana. It's like, we're not going to get into it. But, that's for a separate podcast.
The uncut, the X-rated version. I'm joking.
Cut the pod.
So yeah, going on to our Western Conference Player of the Week, and obviously we can both agree on this. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, whatever you want to call him. I think he's been incredible this season, and this past week, the numbers don't lie. Had that game against Chicago where he dropped 40 points, 12 assists, 5 rebounds, 58% from the field, 94% from the free-throw line, and then the game against Portland before that, he had 28 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 77% from the field, 100% from the 3-point line, 100% from the free-throw line. Yeah. Efficiency is through the roof. He's incredible. Like his shot selection, his ability to get to the line. Every shot that he takes, it's the right shot. He can literally take over a game on like 8 shots.
And walking as well. He's not running. He's just, jogging. He's
got a great bag on him in terms of, being able to like counter moves and, he's just really graceful out there, and it's really a joy to watch. And there's no secret he's the reason, or big reason, why the OKC Thunder are in the position they're in the Western Conference and in the entire NBA landscape. So I think it's pretty unanimous that we've SGA is our Player of the Week out west.
It's a crazy take that I had back in the day, like in high school. So like how Nikhil Alexander
Walker, yeah.
Yeah, how they like played, their cousins played in the same, I think, high school AAU team. I was like watching them, like these two are really good, and I was like, but I think Nikhil's going to be a hell of a lot better basketball player. Like his bag is just so nice. Like, but at the time though, like he was tough, And he still is tough. But, I mean, in hindsight, seeing what SGA has become, it's nuts. And, like, I think he's going to continue to do this for 10 or so seasons.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of being able to watch him in his rookie season in LA when he was playing for the Clippers. Ended up buying a jersey. Still got the jersey at home.
Yes, sir.
But, yeah, I mean, that's always going to be an all-time fumble by the Clippers, letting him go. Again,
PG.
I was going to say, you understand it, PG, and then that resulted in getting Kawhi as well because of the fact that, PG was there. He managed to attract Kawhi. But at the end of the day, seeing what Shea has become and seeing, the development of him and being that MVP caliber player. And again, PG was definitely that, and he still is to that level to some extent. But yeah, what SGA does on the court night in, night out is incredible. And I think, that might be one that comes back to haunt them going forward down the track. But at the end of the day, that's for another debate, another discussion. But SGA, Player of the Week out west for Beyond the Box Score this week. Moving on to Fact or Cap. And the first one that I've got for you is Orlando are a genuine playoff threat. Fact or Cap, straightforward, pretty simple.
I'm keeping this short and sharp. I think they are a potential playoff team, obviously, but the word threat, I don't think they're a threat, but I think they're a playoff team. But I don't think they're causing any damage to the teams above them, that being Brooklyn, Philly, Miami, maybe New York, the Bucks, Celtics. I think there's too many teams who I have over them to be a threat. But
even the Pacers, even though the Magic dispatched them the other day, but I don't think it was on a back-to-back. So, I mean, when the Pacers play their best, I think Orlando runs into a steam train there. A little bit biased, but I'm just saying,
But heck, the core that they have, they could be a threat.
Yeah.
Franz, Paolo, we all know that. We know the team that they do have, and certainly they could be, but just right now in their sophomore and third years, no, not yet.
100%.
I'm moving on. Fact or Cap? We are underestimating Phoenix Suns' full potential when fully healthy with Brad, Bill, Booker, and KD on the floor, and we're just underestimating how good they are fully healthy.
I'm gonna say fact only because, despite the fact Bradley Beal hasn't been available and ready, I think now the continuity, the chemistry that this team is starting to get, they're gelling. Adding Bradley Beal to the mix, eventually, hopefully, he gets over whatever his ailment he has, this lower back complaint that he's got going on, which is kept. Yeah, so it's pretty concerning. But I mean, if he does get back on the court consistently throughout this season, it's only going to add another layer of complexity to NBA defenses, having to try and grapple with career best KD, arguably Devin Booker in peak form, and Brad Beal as well. It's just going to be an absolutely absurd task for NBA defenses, and as long as the other guys in that depth chart can contribute and just carry their weight, they don't have to be superstar level performances. The guys like Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, guys of that nature, when the numbers called, just step up, then they don't need to do too much, because when those big three are on the court together, even if it's just KD and Book, the way they're playing, I give them every chance against any team in the league. But again, it's a big question mark how the long-term health of this team is, especially with KD, the injury that he did have a few years back, which he's obviously looks like he's gotten over. Devin Booker obviously had that early layoff as well. And Bradley Beal is probably the most concerning out of the three of those players. So I'm going to say fact, they are very scary when fully healthy, and their full potential can definitely be reached, but there's still a couple of asterisks there. But at the end of the day, I think they are going to be right around that mark come the playoff time. Fact or Cap, Alperen Şengün is going to be the closest thing we see to Nikola Jokic.
I'm going to say, this is controversial. I'm not saying he's the next Nikola Jokic. There's never got to be another Nikola Jokic, but I think he's going to be, the closest thing we've seen to Jokic in terms of his skill set. I'm not saying he's going to be as good. I'm not going to say he's going to be an MVP of our league or a future NBA champion, but the skill set that he has, I think you could go on the routes of an Al Jefferson, like passing bigs, or a Marc Gasol or Pau Gasol, but the volume of assists that he gets, I don't think it's more than those guys. And I think Jokic is the next thing. And I think at Alperen's age, Nikola wasn't doing what Sengun is doing. Or yeah. So I'm going to say fact. But I if people give me hate, I could see why they give me hate. But at the same time, I think, yeah, for someone who I wasn't super, super high on like you were when we did that top 10 center list, he's definitely proven me wrong. And Alperen, yeah, I did not expect him to be this good. And you were fully getting on my case. You're like, there is no way you do not think Alperen is top 10. And we were having like damn near that's probably the first time I don't think we've had arguments, but like if there was an argument, it would have been about Alperen.
I was like, you have to put him in. If you don't, I'm gonna come.
And I didn't put him in.
Yeah, I know.
So
now you look like you got egg on your face now after that.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm going to be wrong sometimes, but yeah, I mean, you could kind of see why. Like I wasn't. It's because I looked at the Rockets. I'm like, they suck.
Yeah.
So obviously, someone has to do what they do. But yeah, definitely not empty stats if that's even a thing.
100%.
Because he's killing.
But I was going to say, there's two statistics that he's surpassed two records he's surpassed the last couple of weeks. The first one is the youngest player, or youngest center, I should say, to record 500 assists in his career, surpassed Jokic on that mark. And he's the youngest player in Rockets franchise history to get 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in his career. Think about the kind of big men, the kind of centers that they've had, Hakeem Olajuwon, and the great players that have gone through this organization. Yeah. Clyde Drexler, who else can I rattle off here? Ralph Sampson, James Harden. Obviously, he wasn't there because he's not going to be the youngest player because he wasn't there at the ripe old age. Or he's a bit more of a ripe old age, I should say, rather than really young. But in terms of, the kind of young talent that they've brought in from, earlier drafts, it's incredible. And the big one that sticks out to me that he's surpassed is obviously Hakeem Olajuwon. The fact that he was able to put up those numbers before Hakeem and all that sort of stuff.
Hakeem could pass.
Yeah, exactly. Underrated playmaker, one of the best big man playmaking, or one of the best playmaking bigs, I should say, in NBA history. So, yeah, unbelievable start to Alperen Şengün's career and to start this season off. So I think, I have to agree with you on that, and that's why I brought it up.
Okay, so the next one, we saw the Popovich and Kawhi video. Pop grabbed the mic and was like, you guys will not boo Kawhi Leonard. We do not treat our former, whatever he said. Basically, he was telling Spurs fans to not boo Kawhi Leonard because he brought them an NBA champion. Maybe he didn't bring him, but he was a finals MVP there. You could argue he played, not lockdown, but, he stopped LeBron.
Played a significant role nonetheless.
Yeah, and he's a champion there. He was one of the all-time greats there. Basically, Pop did the right by Kawhi and what he did for the franchise by saying do not boo him. It's like disrespectful. But I guess fact or cap, if you've done the significance that Kawhi has done to the city of San Antonio, you shouldn't be booed when you come home to that city. So that, I guess we could go the route of KD going back to OKC, LeBron going back to Cleveland, Kyrie going back to Cleveland or Boston, or maybe not Boston because he didn't win it, but Cleveland. Basically, fans shouldn't treat their champions like how they were treating Kawhi.
I'm going to give you two answers here because I can't really it just depends which route you take. So fact, in the sense that if you've done right by the franchise your entire career, and yes, you've achieved a lot of great things, but the way you left the organization was a bit of a question mark. Like LeBron, the whole thing about the decision, like having to go on TV, KD joining a 73-win Golden State team. Who else can Kyrie Irving, saying to, even about when he left the Celtics, obviously he wasn't there for a long time, didn't achieve much, but, saying,
he would come.
Yeah, like that sort of stuff, that kind of behavior across the board. If you're doing that and then you go back, I think you sort of deserve the boos. But in terms of like, you achieved great things within an organization, and for whatever reason, we don't know the full story behind what happened with Kawhi at the Spurs, and the medical team. But at the end of the day, he was a pivotal part of, winning a championship for that city. He's a pivotal member of that franchise for years to come. And, his legacy will forever be cemented in San Antonio Spurs history. So for me, I personally don't like the fact that they booed him. And he's a likable guy. Like, he's one of those...
Sacrifice his role there too. So
100%. So I think fact in the sense that if you've done right by the team and the way you left there wasn't really like super question mark or super obvious question marks regarding how you left. But then if it's, like I said, a case like LeBron, KD, those kind of ways that you went about it that could have been better, then I'll say, yeah, cap, go for it, boo them, fucking hurl abuse their way. Obviously, as long as it's respectful, not like to a point where,
death threats.
Yeah, nothing stupid, but like, I think it's harmless in my opinion. Like, wow, yeah, it's like, it's a part of sports. But I just think to certain individuals, like Paul Pierce, for example, I don't think Boston fans, I don't know if they did boo him, but when he went to Brooklyn, or when he was playing for the Wizards, I don't think they should boo him because like he didn't
traded.
Exactly. It's not like it was his choice to go and leave that organization. At the end of the day, he got traded. He was willing to be part of the trade, but I don't think he said, "Oh fuck Boston, I'm going to Brooklyn, I'm going to Washington, blah blah blah." No, this is me. So if you had the option in the 2020 draft, this is a bit of a different one, but if you had that option in the 2020 draft with the this draft class 2020, it could be an all-time draft class for guards. Who are you taking? Hallie, Ant-Man, or Carmelo Ball? LaMelo Anthony.
Oh, damn, this is tough. See, I think longevity in career, I know it's short, but I think LaMelo so far has had the best career since being a rookie to now. Hallie's had the best, if he continues, which we assume he will, this whole season, he's probably had the best individual season. But then Anthony Edwards has had two now, like MVP caliber season this season and then the season prior All-Star. So who would I take if I'm building a team around a player and I want to win an NBA championship? That's what we're kind of going with. I'm probably going with... Because you put a good team around LaMelo Ball, for me, it's out of LaMelo or Hallie. So I need to really think about this. You put a team around LaMelo Ball with a bunch of all-stars. I'm going to say Tyrese. I have to say Tyrese. I know if that's your answer, it's your answer. But the fact that I've seen it visually, Tyrese put up the numbers that he does put up, like 50, 40, 90, really good from beyond the arc and like on a range of like a lot of attempts as well. And the fact that he has limited turnovers, which you could use against LaMelo Ball as he turns it over more. And he's a willing scorer. He takes over games in the clutch. And that's a thing that people question. I don't know why. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with LaMelo just because I've visually seen
Hallie, so far. Said.
Yeah, sorry, not LaMelo. Hallie, because I've visually seen him lead a team so far, 2 wins, and largely because of the role that he plays in transition, shooting, limited turnovers, everything that he's just been doing has been terrific. So if that was your answer, it was your answer. But yeah, for me, taking Hallie.
I know I would take Hallie personally because obviously favorite player. He's been my favorite player, in the league since he came into the league, and followed him in his Iowa State days. Got the receipts to prove it. But to play devil's advocate, I'm going to make the case for Ant-Man, and the only reason I say that is because he's the true definition of a two-way superstar. Like, he plays both sides of the ball. I think Hallie, yeah, he does get deflections. He gets steals. He's active on that side of the ball, but I think with his frame, he is a bit slight. I think that's going to maybe hold him back to be the best defender unless he puts on some size and, a bit more strength. Defensively, he can sometimes be attacked and like targeted on that side of the ball, but he still obviously contests well. He can block shots. He can use his length and long arms to obviously, make life tough for any guard that's trying to, put up a shot against him in terms of closeouts and shot contests. But Ant-Man, that outwardly athleticism, the fact that he's a gym rat, not saying the other guys aren't, and especially Hallie, I know that every year he works on something in his game and improves on facets of his game. But with Ant-Man, I just think, 6'6", built like an absolute tank, jumps through the gym. That jump shot's getting better and better every year. The next phase with him will be to advance more as a playmaker. He's shown great improvement this year. But in terms of going forward, I think if he can improve his playmaking a little bit more, shot selection at times, picking the right shot, being more efficient with it as well, I think Ant-Man's got a hell of a lot of potential. Not saying these other guys don't. Again, I think I want to say Hallie so badly, but I just want to like show that I'm not biased and I can like view it from another perspective. So for me, Ant-Man, just because he does have all that superstar kind of aura about him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and to your point there, like if we're basing this off building a championship team, I mean, Steph Curry's an anomaly. These guys are point guards. You probably went with the best route because like we've seen this time and time again. I guess shooting guard, you could put Ant at the small forward. I mean, Kobe, Jordan, D Wade, like if that doesn't tell you enough about building a team around a shooting guard I don't know what does. So, yeah, I think that's probably the smartest route to go. I don't know why I went in the route. I don't know why God gave me the hardest path, like LeBron would say, but yeah. I mean, both are justified, but I definitely do think now looking back on your pick, you probably went with the best, like the safest pick.
I wanted to go Hallie, but I'm just like, you know what? I'll play devil's advocate in this situation and
You convinced me now, like sitting here thinking about it, like his skill set. So
But then you see Hallie drop 26 in a quarter, and then you're like, oh shit.
literally. I'll kick this one off. The last fact or cap of it's been a long ep, probably a bit longer than we would have expected. I know you have a party to go to, and yeah, I feel bad because I feel like I've been talking too much. But
Nah, that's all right. It's not your fault. It's Mr. DJ in the background pumping the tunes.
you're literally not even good.
Yeah.
You're not.
Give it up, mate. Just go out and just listen to some proper DJs
Get a
spin the
hobby,
deck.
bro. Like, get an actual hobby. Like it's actually annoying. But we're finally on the last one, and I guess this one surrounds Trae Young. And basically, what I'm saying is that Trae Young is a phenomenal player. Before Trae Young fans come at me, I'm going to give him his credit because it's true. I mean, he's a multiple-time All-Star. He's taken them far in the playoffs, I guess. But I guess his inefficiencies. I know we talked about Cade last step, but he's a star. But I think with his inefficiencies and the volume of shots that he takes, that's holding him back from being an elite level star in this league, I guess. Like a Luka.
Elite level superstar, yeah.
Like a Luka or like a Tyrese or like, the guys who we put on the top echelon, even Ja Morant. I think if you're taking like 35 shots and you're shooting like 30%, 35,
36, 37.
it's just not a good look. And I don't think teams are going to want to build around you for as long as, people might assume that they would, whether that's the Hawks or another team. Yeah, I just think that's holding him back from being such a great, great player. He's already great, but I'm talking like superstar.
I think the thing with Trae Young that I always look at, and I'm like, if you're inefficient but you're 6'6" or 6'5", it's one thing, and you can kind of get away with it because I feel like you can possibly,
Your defense
your defense might be there, or you're able to get to the rim or whatever. But because he's 6'1", I feel like sometimes in his own head he's like, oh, I need to pull up from like 35 feet.
I need to show these guys that my game's like different to everybody else.
Yeah, but it's like at the end of the day, it's still worth 3 points. And yes, it does stretch the defense out. And yes, by taking those shots, the defense has to play you higher, meaning there's more spacing on the court, which is why he can distribute the ball at will and why he's one of the best passers in this league. But just his shot selection at times and questionable shots in the shot clock when,
I would hate playing with Trae.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the thing that separates him from the being like in that top echelon, like we said. And I think if he can brush up on that and change that over the course of his career over the next couple of seasons, I think maybe that comes down to playing as maybe a second option, playing as a first option as a second option alongside a guy who maybe is in that top echelon. If you play with a guy like
Joel.
Yeah, for example, like something like that, maybe Joel doesn't accept that kind of, shot selection and,
Ball in the post. Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think you want to take away from Trae's confidence because I think, that whole side of his game is all through, the way he plays. He's got that chip on his shoulder. He's got a point to prove. But sometimes I think you got to pick your moments. You got to pick the right time to let go. And he can take over games. We've seen it clear cut. He drops, 40 points at will like it's nothing. But then you look at the box score and you look at how many shots he's taken to get it and, his deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball and, defenders attacking him and whatnot. We just talked about Tyrese Halliburton, being possibly targeted on the defensive side of the ball. He's 6'5". At the end of the day, he's still got length. He's still got...
Teams are never going to give up on Tyrese.
100%, whereas...
Trae, like, we've already seen it. He got cut from Grant Hill from the USA team who works at Atlanta And then he's just always in trade talks. And I'm not against Trey. I just think like eventually the Hawks might go a different route. And it's sad to see, but
I still think he's a top 10 point guard. And I want people to like make that well and truly. I want people to be aware that we make that well and truly clear that, you know, he's still in our top 10 point guards in the league, and he's an elite level player in this league. But if he wants to take it to that next tier, that S tier as they call it, I think he just has to learn to, you know, take the right shot sometimes, make the right play on certain possessions. So that not more can be said, but so I want to say fact on that one. But in terms of his overall production and what he does on the court and how great Trae Young is, that's not to be questioned whatsoever. So I don't want people to get it twisted. But yeah, I just think to be a part of that like elite level guard play, like an SGA, like a Luka, players of that nature, Tyrese, Ant-Man. Even Ant-Man's not efficient, but even he makes the right play sometimes, you know, as opposed to Trae Young.
Wrong as a playmaker.
Yeah, 100%.
Trae's already so good at that,
But what more can you say about that? And at the end of the day, I think he can turn the corner, but it's just all about, you know, not letting his ego get in the way of things. But with that being said, that does officially wrap up episode 3 of Beyond the Box Score. It was a bit of a chaotic episode, I'll be honest. Fake DJ over here, try hard wannabe DJ, as Wally Zerbiak called Tyrese, wannabe all-star. Wannabe DJ in the DJ room here at our Bulldog Studios has decided to crank up the volume halfway through this podcast, and it's thrown a spanner in the works, completely thrown us off our game. We managed to get through the episode, but apologies if the quality maybe lacks a little.
I don't think the audio will be diminished, but it's just annoying for us to deal with.
Yeah.
Like this app,
it was flowing smoothly. It was really going well. And unfortunately, because of him literally shaking the whole room with the vibrations of the volume and the sound coming from that room, it's forced us to pause the episode a couple of times. So apologies again if it's a bit, it isn't, yeah, how how's it going? But we're going to endeavor to make this episode 4 the best one yet. The next one that we do decide to do after this. Yeah. But yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully you still enjoyed the content. I think there was still a lot of great stuff to take away from this episode. And I think, you know, what we actually did talk about today was to all our loyal subscribers, all our loyal viewers, appreciate your support on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, whenever we post a video, the interaction. You know, if you're new to the channel, welcome. And hopefully you guys stick around for the long run, because we're in this for the long run. We're not just here to make up numbers. We're here to try and, you know, change the game. But it starts with you guys. If you can subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. We're only 49 away from 1,000, which is our first goal, like we said at the top of the show. And yeah, fingers crossed we can achieve that number in the next week or so, and, you know, officially be monetized and officially be YouTube partners. So it's going to be an exciting time ahead. And with that, the jersey giveaway that we will be doing at 1,000 subs, as well as a free graphic tee of your choice from Bootleg AU. We'll drop the details in the description.
You want one of them, I promise you that.
You can design it whatever you want on it. Design it however you like, whichever player you want. And trust me, these tees are great quality. They're super crisp with the designs. And yeah, you wouldn't want to miss out on these, trust me, guys. So be in it to win it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Marcus, I'll let you wrap up the rest of the show.
Pretty much everything like you said. Yeah, happy to have the episode done. I mean, it's been a pretty eventful episode. You know, this week in the NBA wasn't too exciting, but we're still here in the studio cooking up because we love to do this. And yeah, I'm pretty done, to be honest. But we hope you guys did enjoy. It's been Marks from the Bench Mob.
It's been Danko from the Bench Mob.
And we will catch you guys later.
Hello, yes, you at home. This is Commissioner of the NBA speaking to you, Adam Silver. Here's a message in courtesy of Bench Mob in collaboration with the NBA store. When Bench Mob hits 1,000 subscribers, they'll be giving away a free NBA jersey to a lucky subscriber. So just do all the things listed on the screen.